It's close enough to 7. Let's call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Lear?
Here.
Casnella?
Here.
Hager? Here. Larson?
Here.
Schneider?
Here.
Ramirez?
Here.
Morris?
Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. It's close enough to 7. Let's call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Here.
Casnella?
Here.
Hager? Here. Larson?
Here.
Schneider? Ramirez?
Here.
Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. It's close enough to 7. Let's call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Here. Here.
And then the other fees.
Got it.
And then the budget.
Okay.
These.
If we want to do it properly.
Well, then we'll do it properly. 1, 2, 3.
But I want to divide out the TOT.
So before I continue on, are we good with technical or? Okay. I heard a little echo there, so I wasn't too sure. Okay, we got citizens' time. Is there anybody out for citizens' time? Okay. Any emails?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we'll go directly into the agenda items. First item, of course, the only item really is Resolution 2022-007, the budget. Roberto, if you could give your presentation.
Drum roll, please. Two-factor authentication.
I cannot access my Outlook, by the way.
I was going to say I'm the same.
It's not on the agenda.
The lights.
Picture.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna take it down.
Better.
Oh, Miss Kim having problems too.
Two-factor.
It's best to download the app. App
I tried that and it wasn't working for me.
and then select phone call.
We're gonna put the
where
Jeopardy music
They'll
on.
call you. They call your phone number to
Because I couldn't,
authenticate.
okay, because I couldn't do the QR code or anything. It wasn't letting me do
Mine
any
just
of
got
that.
stuck on next. It kept
I go through
circle
Google
of
Mail.
death.
Is that, yeah?
I set up my Google Mail for
Oh,
it.
so that should go to your phone or whatever.
Yeah, so this is a good demonstration. It'll open off in your app, and then you just hit yes and log in from your device.
Yeah, took me a while to figure that out.
And we have to do it every 60 days? Huh?
Bring your device.
Oh, because ours is 60 days. Our office is 60 days.
Well, it's still auto-forwarding
Have
mine,
to
so I don't really care.
authenticate it every 60 days. But it depends on the
It's not going to
administrator.
impact the
what they
auto-forwarding
do.
on me, is it?
That's good.
Yeah, it does
Every-
cash out after a certain
Bother.
time.
Yeah, mine comes up and
Mine's auto-forwarding. I'm not even going to bother.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Okay. Roberto. Hey, Marcia. Must be on consent agenda.
We were. We moved my other staff up.
I like to pull item 2C.
It happens. Thankfully, one of my other staff, they moved it up to the beginning, or up in the agenda, so all my staff is home, are home. We've been going midnight, 1 o'clock on a regular basis. So.
Did anybody resurrect Dulles South?
It's not dead. It was just put to the side.
I thought
I thought so too when I talked to Buddy Reiser. He said, no, it's,
no, they put it to bed. 3-2 vote.
he's of the opinion that it has to go to the full board. And so that's the TLUC recommendation, right?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're all set.
Show
All right.
me the money.
Good evening, council. So tonight, I know you guys are going to be voting on the tax rates as well as the budget adoption, budget for FY 2023. Just wanted to highlight a few items on this, in this budget, within this budget that we proposed. The main thing and one of the first things we want to lead with is considering current inflations and current real estate assessments while this was being worked on. We started working on this in February of this year. At the time, as you guys remember, the market was really hot as well. And we had recently received our assessments in March for town residents, which saw a significant jump in assessments. Considering that move, we proposed a budget that actually would show an equalized rate for the residents. We were able to achieve that by removing the biggest denominator there, which was the commercial improvements that we have seen, as everyone knows, the hotel across the street, the new Crossroads Village Center, and as well as the Van Meter projects. Those have definitely helped that increase bump up really high, considering the past year. So by removing that, we were able to achieve of giving the town residents the ability to pay an equal, close, if not close, pretty close to what they were paying last year, which is how we became the equalized rate. So our rate will, you can go to the next slide. Next slide. So some of these here are highlights. As you can see, the rate is going down from, we're proposing a rate drop decrease from 0.129 per 100 to 0.117. This again is in hopes to try to offset those additional increases our town residents and many of Prince William County residents are seeing, but we are able to specifically target our residents. We were still able, even though with this reduced real estate tax rate, we were still able to fund an economic development. This is something we started last year. At the time, the town manager wanted to go ahead and start creating this economic development line item to gear towards the town businesses. We were still able to achieve that in this current budget. The proposed budget also sees a COLA for the police department as well as the town administrative side of 4.75. This is to also in hopes to offset current inflations. One of the things I just came back from our Treasurers Association conference. One of the biggest things we're all seeing is the inflation, how it's affecting the employees and the retainage of employees. It's becoming a little bit harder. So this is hopefully a way we could assist with the current inflations. This budget as well also continues to support and enhance our police department. I know that we have spoken about this in meetings, but if you guys are aware, this year with Chief Seibert being on board, we have assisted, and the town has able to assist our chief, making sure that our officers have the equipment they need during his evaluation, and our consultant, Mr. Smith. Many items needed to be updated, specifically laptops. We were able to do these purchases within the budget with some of the surplus funds we did. We were also able to continue providing the hybrid program for our officers, considering that the fuels have increased. We know that is something that the town we definitely want to see continue, so we are definitely supporting that. This budget also, we went ahead and declared our one-time allowance for the ARPA funds. What this means is that we took it as for the revenue loss. We could do up to 10 million. We only have 1.7 that was given to us. We are going to go ahead and use that towards infrastructure and our park sidewalk projects and any further projects that the town council wishes to address. Next slide. Once again, this is also repeating the same message about the real estate assessment. That's one of the biggest things that we have seen affecting a lot of the town residents going forward. The budget consideration is also provide exceptional professional service to our town residents and businesses, maintaining fully staffed and professional police department, focusing and reviewing and updating town policies, procedures to provide optimal service and governance, focus on updating comprehensive plan to ensure we continue moving the town forward with up-to-date guidance for our staff. This next slide is just to highlight some of the services and programs that we currently address with this budget, proposed budget. Next slide. So, to give people a visualize what this rate change would do, I wanted to give a breakdown as far as to show to the residents and to council how these increase in assessments affected. Now, what I did is take the average of the single-family homes and also an average of the townhomes, multifamily homes, and commercial. As you can see, the single-family homes from 2021 assessments to 2022, there showed to be an average increase of 16.4%, 0.4%, while the townhomes had an increase of 14.58%. What this means when it comes to money, had council had the proposed budget maintained the flat rate, on an average, a single-family home could have been paying an additional $96.28 a year. But by equalizing it, it's not a perfect science, but it's trying to get as close as we could. On average, a single-family home would be paying $31.49. Townhomes, instead of paying the $46.02, they would actually be paying an average of $25.18. As you can see, the burden would still be more on the commercial industrial assessments, which is the reason why some of the assessments have increased so highly this year. Doing this with the proposed rate of 0.117, as you can see, I like to graph out with the local neighboring jurisdictions. We are still one of the lower real estate tax rates townships to be in the area, but yet still able to achieve, providing the services to our residents. The next few pages are just more of a breakdown of the departmental revenues streams. Obviously, the bigger budget we have there where it breaks line item by line item. This is just more of a lump sum of those departments. And the following page is also, these are current assets to the town-owned properties. All of them have shown a significant increase. These are numbers that are assessed by when we go through our general liability renewal insurance. They come out and assess the properties every year. So this is the assessments that they had done for us. In the last page is our proposed CIP schedule. This is something I think was discussed with our town planner and our public commission board. With that being said, is there any specific questions on the presentation or anything anyone would want to discuss?
Chris?
Thank you, sir. ARPA funds.
Yes.
I know you've discussed it before and shared, and one of the things I would just like to ask of council to consider. This past Sunday, I know most of you guys came out to our Sunday event, the farmers market. And 2 years ago, when we first received ARPA funds, we used some of the funds in purchasing benches, and we actually got them in bulk, and then I think there was a scout team that put them together for us. I just want the rest of council to consider, I know majority of the funds maybe be highlighted for something else, development or streetscape, but if we could consider assigning some of the funds, and we may not necessarily have to make the decision tonight, but for us to consider how can we use some of the funds to further enhance the park and rec of the town itself, not necessarily the park, but when you look out here on Sunday and saw the vast amount of people that were here in the green area, there were limited seating, and maybe we need to think outside of the box, what else we can use the ARPA funds to purchase, just to make this, it's a town center, even though a part of our focus is the park, but just beef this up. So I just kind of want to throw it out there for us to consider, and again, maybe not make a decision on it tonight, but at least if we can assign some funds to that from the ARPA.
To build on, can I go next?
Go ahead.
Councilman Morris's point about the town center master plan does reprogram that area, so I think if there's interim monies we can put toward street chairs and tables and things like that, but I'm hopeful that if we can move the town center plan forward, get it through the planning commission, get it funded, that will reprogram that space and better accommodate those sorts of events, because I do agree it's our downtown, people want to be able to congregate. I talked to Councilman Weir about monies directed toward the park. We do have I guess the RFPs are over for the sidewalk, all the bids are in. And then talking about the assessment of the building condition, and then talking about some interim improvements maybe to better program that building, especially with the increased interest in the use of that park, especially with the new residents that are coming in. So long way of asking, we do have the money still available to be able to put, I guess, some improvements in under maintenance, some improvements in under CIP, and then other amendments as necessary. Those, Councilman Ware, or Joe, that's still anticipated by the budget? Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Just a comment, just a quick comment. Thank you, Roberto. I think you spent a lot of time on putting this together with your colleagues, and I think you guys have done a great job. So, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Any other more questions for Roberto?
I don't have a question. I just had a comment that I'd written down, and it's more for Roberto about the process of where we are today, how we got here. If you had any ways of improving it for the next season, when you look at your dates and how we got here. I mean, you were ready for this presentation 2 weeks ago. So, you know, maybe just start thinking through to see how we can improve the process for future councils.
Of course. Probably should have just spoke up that meeting, but we had a pretty interesting meeting that night. So my apologies. I should have just said something to the council that I had already that day. But yes, we can do that.
And you guys did a lot of work. Just echoing what Joe said. Did you find any part of the process being too tedious and you weren't able to accomplish what you wanted?
No, to be honest with you, I think this council was very helpful in giving input on what they wanted to see, what you guys wanted to see as a whole and individually. I took it into consideration in the budget. If you guys remember, even in our conversation, this wasn't the original proposed budget that I was thinking of, but as time went on with the discussions, there was very good logical reasoning behind things and wants to see. I got to also give credit to Chief. Chief was great at his department's budget. I mean, he came in there ready to go. We met more than a few times to hopefully help him get the layout of what was expected on the budget. And of course he knows, but at least in the town and whatnot. But he was a great help. And of course, Emily Karazi, our town planner / acting town manager, she was great too, to help me capture anything if I did miss. Yeah, it was a good team effort. The fact that we were able to work together ahead of time was actually a great thing. Like I said, but in hindsight, the only thing is I should have said something that day of 2 weeks ago to present this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Oh, do I have any type of motion, or do you want to open up discussions?
Mr. Mayor, from a procedural standpoint, I think the way to do this properly is to adopt a resolution adopting the real property tax rate first, a second resolution to adopt the other tax rates, and then a third resolution to adopt the budget.
Yes.
And what I would suggest doing is just taking this and going resolution 2022/007A for the real property tax rate, and then B for the other taxes, and then C for the actual budget adoption.
And would we do discussions in between?
Yes.
Okay.
When you say other taxes, taxes and fees?
Taxes and fees, the whole fee schedule. Although I suspect this is actually going to end up being 4 resolutions, because there's one I'd like to divide out.
Okay, that's
So if you're looking
fine.
for a resolution, I would move resolution 2022/007A to adopt the real property tax rate of, and I'm going to throw .112, which will make a difference in the budget of roughly $17,350, but I've made up for that elsewhere in the budget later on. And that will essentially will deliver a slight tax cut to the residents, not an average, not an equalized budget, but actually a small cut. And I think that's the least we can do in view of the higher county taxes, rampant inflation, skyrocketing fuel costs, and what little relief the state's given us, particularly in view that commercial revenue streams in other areas can pick up the slack, actually can more than pick up the slack and offset that $17,350.
Okay, was that a motion
That
for
was
the
a motion
resolution?
for .112.
Okay. With a description behind it. Okay, so I got a motion. Any second?
Well, I'll second it, and
Okay, it's second. It's up for discussion. First thing I'd like to do is, did you hear what was going on here, Roberto? How does that impact the budget that you have together? Do you have any concerns?
I mean, it is doable. The number Councilman Ware did say 17,937 is the difference, but council just also needs to, I just want to remind council as a whole that this budget also considers that some of the bigger projects are using some of the funds that we received from ARPA, which is only 1.7. You know, it seems like a lot. I think it reminds you that the park sidewalk is one of those things that could probably take a good chunk of it. With that being said, you know, I just don't want the town to fall behind the 8 ball by reducing too many of the taxes. We don't have that many tax revenues. But then again, too, it is a doable number. Just have to be cautious by how low you go with the rate.
Councilman Passanello?
okay, so the proposal is from .117 to .112?
Correct.
And what's the effect in absolute value, reduction in the taxes for that?
$17,350,
17,350.
which I think can be more than made up for in other areas of the revenue stream by adjusting those to a more realistic number based on our most recent data.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
I believe, which line items?
I mean, this really doesn't sound like a lot of money, 17,350.
I believe we're at least, and these are just conservative projections. I think our budgeting is 20,000 light on B-Pole, at least 5,000 light on cigarette tax, and 25,000 light on meals tax.
5K meals.
And that should total 50,000 right there.
Roberto, how do you feel about the adjustment in the revenue side?
So the adjustments that Councilman Ware just stated, they are definitely there. B-Pole, as you guys can see, we are going more trending towards the pre-pandemic days when it comes to the B-Pole licenses. Cigarette tax board, yes. The reason why that increase on that, though, is because this past year, Loudoun County, Prince William County, and I think Fauquier County joined the cigarette tax board, which equal to an additional $8.2 million that is being put into the pot that everyone is getting a little bit more of.
And with the cigarette tax, what we also have to understand is that since Prince William County is adopting it this year, all the people that previously left town to avoid the tax now can't avoid it by going into the county. In fact, I think our tax is lower, isn't it?
No,
Ours
we actually have a higher tax.
Higher than they
Prince
do?
William County is 40 cents per pack, we're at 75 cents per pack. But with that comment there too, I'd just like to make, I'm sure council is aware, but starting July 1st, Prince William County has also adopted a 4% meals tax. So we have always had a 4% meals tax. So in theory, I do know of people that would drive to Gainesville to avoid paying the 4% in Chick-fil-A, but now they would be paying the same thing on top of their gas. So that could also, in a way, bring some more revenue into the town, keep it within the town. But with that being said, yes, I agree. I'm okay with the projections that Councilman Ware has presented to council. I know the meals tax right now, I can tell you, as of today, we've collected $913,000, and we still have about 1/3 of the businesses out there to collect. It was a holiday yesterday, so it was a grace period today. And we still have a month to go. So they are trending higher. We do have a few more businesses coming in by next year, so that would put more into that revenue source.
So the money we're getting in meals tax today is from May,
Yes,
and so the June will come in July.
yes.
So what do you think we're going to be at?
So
I mean, I know we were talking 9.25, maybe higher. but-
right, I was saying that by the last 2 months, a combination, I was estimating about 160,000 more. But that number off the bat right now, it looks like it's going to be about 80, almost 90 more, just 1 month. So it might be even up to 180 more. So yeah, so we will be close to the $1 million mark.
Wow.
And the way I'm projecting it, it'll actually be over $1 million, right?
Yes, because next year we do have 2 new businesses that will
Well, I mean,
be
this is through May now, the number you gave me today, the 913?
913 is through May.
So, I mean, my only comment, while this is open discussion, is, I mean, it's pretty much offset by those increased projections. You know, there's some talk about, you know, what you were saying earlier about not starving for the future. And I get that, but I think I agree that right now, given inflation, given the increase in taxes throughout the county and other factors, I can live with the number. So that's my only comment.
Marshall had
Councilman
his hand
Morris?
up before me.
Marshall?
I need to pause
Bob, could you
before
walk
I
us
say
through
something.
just the timing? What was the impetus that had you sort of go through this and chunk away again some
We've
more?
been tracking the revenues
Okay.
over the last several months, and we were very conservative last year because we didn't have a real sense of where COVID was going to take us at this time last year, so we understated both revenues and expenditures, just to be conservative and cautious. And COVID did not take the bite, or quite the bite that we thought it would, so the revenue streams have come higher in the actuals for this year than we projected, and there's no reason to believe that the actuals for next year will be any different. In fact, with respect to this, particularly with respect to the meals tax, they should actually be significantly higher. But when the initial budget was done, when the initial budget projections were done, we were using, again, very conservative numbers, but over the last 3-4 months, since the original budget was put together, some of the numbers have exploded over time, and still being conservative and making small adjustments in revenue streams like B-poll, cigarette tax, meals tax, etc., we can afford, quite actually more than afford, to reduce the rate to something that is approaching a near zero increase, and perhaps even a small slight tax cut on the real property rate. And if that's where everybody wanted to go years ago when we started establishing things like the meals tax and the cigarette tax and everything else to relieve the residential tax burden, well, here's your opportunity to do it.
So with world events, other policies, decisions that are being made, my concern is we cut it too conservative, and we're in the position of having to raise it next year based on whatever unforeseen circumstances come to hold. Are we going to?
Unless the world, unless there's a near apocalypse, because the real estate revenue at this point in time does not constitute an overly significant, well, at one point in time it was a much more significant portion of our budget than it is now, but given the increase in the commercial tax revenues, it's not as critical to the budget overall as it used to be. And, you know, you're talking about an incremental decrease of, you know, $17,350, which I think we could almost find in the couch cushions.
I appreciate sort of the nominal nature of it, but I'm concerned if we're running too lean that we inadvertently put ourselves in a position where we're hawkish this year, but next year we got to raise the rate.
No, I think as a result of operating as leanly as we did last year and using as conservative a number as we did, just because we wanted to be cautious because we didn't know where the economy was going to go with COVID, that given how the economy reacted to that and how the businesses reacted, and a lot of that has to do with the spending of our residents who were, and the support they gave the local businesses, which is quite frankly stunning to some degree. I think it's time to be a little less conservative with some of those commercial revenue streams, and then we can use that to offset and more the reduction in the real property tax, which not only impacts the residents, but also the commercial property owners, because everybody gets that.
Okay, the only other concern I would have with it, again, as I mentioned earlier, just we've spent a lot of time gearing up to pull the trigger on these capital projects. We want to make sure there's nothing, and I guess 17's nominal.
It is
but I
the
want
way
to make sure we don't inadvertently
the numbers
delay this project.
if we adopt the numbers that I've got, we actually net out ahead by roughly $44,000 that we can throw into the CIP.
Okay, that's all I have right now. Thanks.
Councilman Morris?
I'm just taken back, Bob, by we've had 3 meetings already, and the last meeting that we're voting on it, you're bringing up .112.
Yep.
And I don't understand the logics behind us getting to a place right now of wanting to shift it from the point of equalizing it of .117, and then as we grow when you have more facts, because what you're stating are opinions with the BPOL, and you're not running the accounting, the treasurer is. I mean, you may be on the finance committee, but the treasurer is running the accounting. So the estimates that you're given from your computer are your estimates and not the treasurer's.
And I've run these by the treasurer,
Yeah, but
and we have discussed them. And the numbers are based, quite frankly, on the real numbers that we've gotten in.
I understand,
based
but
on receipts.
this is the discussion date when we're voting on it to drop.
this is the proper
I'm
time.
I'm benefiting from it. I'll vote for 0.112, but I don't want to be rash in voting for 0.112 when I've had 3 other discussions looking at equalizing the rate at 0.117. And maybe we need to pause, as Marshawn said, not be too drastic right now. Equalize the rate at 0.117. Next year we evaluate it more, because we have something else that we're going to get faced with, probably worse than COVID, with across the board things that might affect our country. So, but we need to be smart about it, not because the numbers look good now or we came out of COVID stronger than ever. And I'm saying this, but I'm going to be one of the beneficiaries of 0.112. But we need to be cautious. We need to be cautious in running ahead and running after 0.112 to benefit. I mean, when you look at the numbers here on a $96 average that the residents are going to pay on a single family home, and on townhouses $19 to $25 average, I can understand us equalizing it, because that's why we did it. We equalized it to reduce the effect from Prince William raising taxes, and now we're considering reducing it even more. In my opinion, I think it would be smarter to wait, give it a year at the equalized rate of 0.117, and next year evaluate it again with everything that's happening in our society, and then probably jump down maybe even further than 0.112. But it seemed like this seemed like it's a rushed process of what we've experienced in the past, and that hasn't given enough time for proper vetting. Yes, we look at $17,000, but $17,000 $350 is still $17,350. Thank you, sir.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman Morris. I wholeheartedly agree with what you've been saying. I'm not there, so I wanted to ask Councilman Weir, have you provided any documentation showing these statistics that you're quoting?
It's part of the P&L that we all get every month.
Okay, so the actuals that you're speaking to, they're not being presented right now?
Roberto, can you put them up on the screen? Today's P&L?
Yeah, I can put those up on the screen.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable having this discussion with numbers to look at so I can properly evaluate this discussion, because like Morris said, we've discussed this for 3 meetings, and I really would have appreciated an opportunity to review these statistics and have a chance to talk to the treasurer if I have any questions. So I'm a little hesitant, like Councilman Morris right now.
You want to just your phone save and record on them.
Well, I did have Mr. Mayor, another question. So the idea when we advertised this initially was that we could be able to make these adjustments.
Yes.
Bob, is that what the thinking is?
Down.
Down.
Yeah, we could go down.
What we set in the advertisement was the highest rate.
Yes, but we did that on purpose to be able to.
To be able to give you the flexibility to go down, but you cannot go higher under statute.
Stating the obvious, but just wanted to clarify it.
You could go to Beepole cigarette and meals tax current or year-to-date, and then what months those are through. Might want to blow it up.
I'm gonna have to walk up there.
I didn't bring my marked up copy with what dates they were through, Roberto.
I can speak on the actuals. So council,
Yeah.
Is that good right there? Does that show me everything you need?
We start with B-Pole at 269,820. What's that through?
so
Can you scroll up one more space, please, instead of totals? Okay, yep. A little bit more, one little bit. Okay, perfect.
okay, so what you're seeing here is what is the actual as of today. The 269,820 and 82 cents is actually everything that's collected as of today. Our B polls were due on April 30th. In fact, right now, I am in the process of, with our town manager, in the process of getting assistance from her to audit to make sure we have collected existing businesses as renewals. I do know that there is a few that we are going to have to send reminders, and at this point, they are late. But this number here, as you see, we projected 200,000 with the thought last year that we were unsure how quickly businesses were going to bounce back. We were very fortunate. In fact, recently being last week at the town treasurers conference, the town of Haymarket is very fortunate not to have lost businesses. I believe the only business that have shut down is because they needed more space, and some because they wanted to move on somewhere else. One, in fact, or one of the staple businesses decided to sell her shares, her company, to someone else, and she retired. So that has been one of the fortunate things we do have. This number, 269,820, is a real number. And with that being said, it looks like it probably will increase more, but with timing, it most likely will be on the newer budget when we were collected. But it has proven to go back to pre-pandemic numbers. You can also see the cigarette tax. Once again, that was also due to the fact that we have an additional funds that have put into the bigger pot. Still,
What date is that one through?
that is through May.
So
we have one more month to go in July. By July 1st, by next Friday, we should have the final June number. But with that being said, at this point, everything is extra than what we had budgeted. We had budgeted 125,000. We, as of May, have collected 126,804.
But if we didn't have the bigger pool of money, we would be under budget right now.
We would be pretty close. Last year, we will be pretty close to the 120, 125,000. We would be pretty close to that.
So this is not necessarily because of us selling more cigarettes and money. It's because of what Prince William Fauquier and
It's a combination. Even though, you know, the cigarette sales have dropped, there also has been a lot of increase of people, you know, going back, being at home, working from home, and picking up vices again. But yes, it's a combination of things.
I'm really just, I'm asking those questions because the narrative that is painted is, oh, we're doing so good, let's decrease it. But it's not a realistic narrative. It may be a realistic narrative with the B poll, but we still don't know what's going to happen in the future. But please continue.
Well, I would suggest with the B poll, as with sales tax and as with the cigarette tax, the growth that we're going to experience because of the stuff that's under construction, not just restaurants, but potentially additional B poll from the other businesses that are under construction. What I'm going to suggest later on is increasing. If you look at the B poll, our actual right now is roughly $270,000. Our budget for last year was $200,000, and the proposed for this year, this coming year, was $220,000, and I'm going to propose actually raising it to $240,000, which would still be $30,000 less than our actuals this year, with growth inevitably coming from the new businesses. Similarly with cigarette tax, given where we are at this point, and this is being driven by the numbers from being part of the Cigarette Tax Authority, I'm going to suggest that instead of leaving it at $125,000, we actually bump it up to $130,000, which generates another $5,000 in revenue. And then with the meals tax, because we're going to have a full year of the restaurant across the street, we just have a brewery open, we've got a couple of more coming, I'm going to suggest we raise the budgeting from $975,000 to $1 million, which creates another $25,000. Those three line items alone give you $50,000 based on what is a realistic analysis of where we stand currently and where we're likely to stand next year. And it's with that money, with the commercial taxes, that we can afford to drop the real property tax by $17,350, which leaves you roughly 33 and some change ahead.
And those are good projections, but if you're just now at this final meeting bringing up those increases, then we're not ready for prime time, according to someone who always come to the podium and say, we're not ready for prime time.
It's based on the numbers that we've got. We've been working on this for a couple of months.
We've been working on it for a couple of months, but as a council voting member, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yep.
So we're not ready for prime time. We're not ready to vote this evening. And I don't know if the rest of the council is, but I'm not ready to vote on it if you're just bringing up increases in our projections in these major areas.
I think I've been pretty clear the last couple of meetings that I was going to have budget adjustments based on these numbers. I know I've said it at least at the last two meetings that I was going to bring forth adjustments or proposed adjustments.
When you think about it, we have given the community or residents the proposed budget for them to review over the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And on the date when we're voting to adopt the budget, we are making changes.
Happens all the time?
Happens all the time, but we shouldn't, not because of precedence. That is what happened in previous council
No,
meetings.
I mean, by it happens all the time. I mean, it happens all the time in multiple jurisdictions.
But we're still adjusting it. And for those who pay attention in the community or residents, we are still not adopting a budget that they have reviewed over the last 2 months.
No.
They have not.
But the same thing happens in every other jurisdiction. I can remember a Board of County Supervisors meeting where they had 9 votes just to set the real property tax.
I think it's really
9 different
important to
rates.
remember here that we are setting expectations for ourselves, not following suit in other people and other jurisdictions. I think that best practice for transparency would be presenting this in prior discussions since you hadn't intended to do it. So I'm with Councilman Morris. I am very hesitant to move forward with your proposed .112 rate. And I would like a chance to look further into these numbers.
The only problem is that by waiting this long into the process, we've run out of time because we have to adopt the budget and the rates by July 1, or we can't.
Well, I guess you
operate.
should have presented it sooner.
I was all in favor of doing this a month ago.
But it's still, our residents have not even contemplated .112. What we're doing here is not right.
I disagree.
And I'm benefiting from it. I'm benefiting from .112. I could use the extra $5 that I'm going to save from my real estate tax. But I think it's not right, not because we are benefiting from it or we're doing this process. That doesn't mean we shouldn't abide by our integrity. We are not doing it the proper way. And to decrease it on the last meeting is not the right way to do it.
And
There's a process.
Can I ask
And I
a
would
question?
argue that happens all the time in every jurisdiction that I can think of.
I don't know. I am not a part of any other jurisdiction or any other meeting. I was voted in on the town of Haymarket. And what we're doing is very common to what has been done in the past.
It's standard practice.
Maybe with previous
To consider
councils. It's just not right. It's not right. That's my point of view. And I'm glad that I'm standing on this platform because I am going to benefit from what Mr. Weir is proposing. As a homeowner, I'm going to benefit. I'm going to put $5-10 more in my pocket, but it's still not the right way to go about doing it. I'll shut up now.
Okay, you done? Joe, you had something?
Anybody else want to chime in?
I'll follow up after you're done.
All right. I don't think it's a question of integrity. I disagree with that statement. This is called a markup. I get where Bob is coming from. It's a markup. This is done. And it is a best practice that's done to benefit the community, the taxpayer. That's where it really is done. And I believe the county might have done that recently, what they were proposing, and they dropped it significantly. As a matter of fact, I'm very happy. Well, no, I'm not. Check that. Not very happy. But my taxes aren't as bad as they were going to be. So in that sense, I'm very happy on the county side. And this is a practice that most municipalities go through. And we advertise it at .117 as the maximum, which gives us an opportunity to come back and discuss it. Now, perhaps it should have been done a week ago, maybe not, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not going to make a judgment there. This is something we're talking about now, and if we're not comfortable with it, let's have a vote. And if it doesn't pass, then we have a vote on the original. That's just my position.
Good position.
Marchand? Marchand?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm in alignment with the fact that we did advertise at a certain rate with the opportunity to adjust lower.
That's it. Marchand? Councilman Ramirez, you have, Councilwoman, sorry. Do you have
Hi,
anything
thank you.
more?
So I would fully back this proposed decrease in the rate had we received feedback from our constituents directly. I have not heard any. And I firmly feel that as a council person, like someone elected to represent our constituents, we should always present our best foot forward. So if the intention was to have a .112 rate, then I really wish that that had been part of the discussion and we could have vetted it so that when our constituents do ask us, about the tax rate, we're educated on this. I don't appreciate a last minute change on our voting day. That feels wildly inappropriate. And it's not coming from a place from constituent feedback. It's coming from a place of someone who intended to do this, as Councilman Weir had stated. So is it possible for us to do an amendment to this proposition or whatever proposal that's on the table?
Probably not, according to Bob, we're not gonna be able to do it and hit the timeline. I mean, the deadline.
Yeah, July 1st.
You
Right.
mean putting off a vote to a different meeting?
No, that's unfair.
We could put it off a week, but that's cutting it awful close. And if you put off the real estate, if you put off this vote, then you have to put off the budget, because you can't adopt the budget without the rate.
As a resident, I would gladly be in favor of .112. At this stage, I cannot vote for it because of how it was brought up. So just as what Joe said, you put it up for a vote. If it passed, it passed. If it doesn't vote, I'm ready to go with the original plan of the equalized rate of .117. I don't need to do it if .112 passes.
Okay.
But I'm not going to compromise my integrity and vote for it in my favor to save $10 in my pocket.
Well,
because I still believe it's not the right way to do it.
I disagree with you on that point. I think if you vote for it, doesn't mean you're compromising your integrity. So I take exception with that statement. I think that's
my opinion. You can
that's your opinion,
yeah.
but I think it's a mischaracterization.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's a fair.
You have one vote too?
I understand that. But I think it's a mischaracterization. I think the issue here is that of the surprise. I think that's more the issue than anything else here.
Yeah.
So I say we put it up for a vote,
Put it up for a vote.
let the chips fall where they may, and vote again.
Mary, you still have the floor. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, Marchand, you wanted to add something real quick?
So the motion on the floor was to adopt 112.
112.
You were seconded by Joe. We're having our discussion.
Correct.
After this discussion, we go to the vote. Okay.
Yes.
I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate going through and taking the time and effort to make it lower. I have some reservations about that. And so I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate the effort. But at this point, I'd rather stay with equalized rate. So.
I appreciate it too.
Okay.
That was really good.
And my 2 cents worth, now that everybody's done. I could see this concern if we were moving the expenditures around. Those are locked in. What we're looking at is what's real. Are we still trying to meet the budgets? So my concerns are less. I can understand people's concerns about last-minute adjustments, but there aren't as many red flags since we aren't touching the expenditures. So, I throw out there to you guys for discussion real quick, before we do this, is there a compromise? Did you want to do a 115 as opposed to a 112?
I don't
Just
know
to
what the-
alleviate?
I don't know what
I don't
the
think you
difference
can
is.
because of the motion that's on the floor.
Right, well, we could always
The
discuss it.
motion could always
and
be
squash
amended,
it.
but I don't know what 115 would do.
Yeah.
But that's just a compromise, that's just a suggestion. Quick around the dais, any comments before we close and vote?
That's a good suggestion, Mr. Mayor. You see, when this was first proposed, the question was asked to the town treasurer what he thinks, and he said, well, I guess we could do it. For me, I would love to hear the confidence from the town treasurer, the person who's running the books, not the liaison, the person who's running the books, to be the person who stands up and said, this is absolutely in favor of the town. And I did not hear that.
It's not his job.
So I'll speak to this. When the announcement is made, the intent is that we cannot go higher than the ceiling of .117. To have these discussions is a normal process. If the reason why Councilman Ware or anyone here would look at, to be personal, yes, it's doable. Eventually, these revenues, if we don't change them, we will have to amend them. So either we do a whole amendment in December, or we address them now, that we have a clear picture of what the actual revenue incoming is. As far as the rate, it is not up to me. But the one thing I just want to warn and be very transparent with everyone here is that the town has the real estate tax, and unlike many other towns, does not have other taxations when it comes to the residents. The properties are not taxed to us. We only have a once a lifetime decal payment, very minimal compared to other jurisdictions, okay? Our rates are pretty low consisting of when it comes to the businesses. With that being said, could we do it? Yes, it is doable. Would I want, as a treasurer, would I want to do it? Probably not, because of the unknown of what can happen in the next year. We've been very conservative in our budget this past 2 years, yes. It has shown that the actuals are coming in stronger than what we expected. That also shows that, we are doing the right things when it comes to the expenditures, yet still providing services for the residents. Ultimately, though, the decision is up to council, not to me. If you want my opinion, I think the equalized tax rate is what I presented. It is what we have discussed, but in no means does it mean that it cannot be lowered. That decision is solely based on council. You guys represent the township and speak for them. But if you want to know, would it work? Yes, it will work with the budget I have created, with the additional incomes that we have all seen are coming in stronger than what is expected. So in my opinion, yes, it can work. It will work. But the decision is ultimately up to you all, you seven, not me.
Can you tell me what it would be at .115, just for giggles?
Probably like $7,000.
Yeah,
What was the total again? 17?
17,350, so it's probably around 7 or 8.
Yeah, a little higher.
84, 56, 31 is what you we said.
84, 56, 71,
31.
84. So rounding at 84.76,
Excel is a wonderful tool.
which would change the number from 407,555. $407,055. 84.76, correct?
84, 56, 31.
84.56.
31.
So the new line item would be, instead of 407,055, would be 398,599. Something like that, within $1 or $2.
At .115, the real estate tax amount revenue would be 400,000, 143 and 42 cents.
Okay. I amend my motion to .115.
I'll second it.
Okay,
What was that amount?
The
So-
total expected revenue is 400,000, 143
Yeah.
and 42 cents.
400,143. I'm just going to round it to that.
before we even just voted down the 1.7 or whatever. Okay, now with this amendment, it opens it up again. Anybody want to, we'll go around the dais real quick, and you guys can amend your opinion on whether you're still staying tight or,
My opinion is not amended, it's the same. So, thank you.
okay, Councilwoman Ramirez?
Thank you. I couldn't hear what the final numbers would be for the .115. Could you please repeat, like, the difference, please?
$8,456.
I'm sorry, it's,
8,456.
okay, thank you.
The reduction.
Again, I really wish like I could have time to process the numbers, and really evaluate this discussion and, ingest it. The surprise element, as Councilman Passanello pointed out, is the biggest point for me. I don't feel like it's a transparent, stance to take. And as elected officials, I feel that that's one of our points of pride in this town, is being transparent. So, I absolutely want to help our town and our residents during these hard times. And trust me, we feel them too as elected officials. We're people too. And it's not that I don't want to lower the rate. It's just I would love an opportunity to evaluate it so I know what I'm talking about when I'm asked about it. It seems like the difference really wouldn't be much at 0.115. But again, I haven't been given proper amount of time to evaluate that. Thank you.
Quick question for you, though, but you are comfortable with the .117 as was presented earlier, right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
But you are comfortable with what was advertised, the .117, right?
Absolutely. The rate that we have discussed for the last 3 meetings, the rate that was presented by our professional treasurer, yes, I am comfortable with that.
Okay, yeah, I just want to be prepared if this gets defeated to propose the next rate. We know you're standing pat, right, Councilman Morris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said that.
Councilman
Appreciate the
Marchand?
sentiment, but I'm still in the same position,
Okay.
so appreciate it. So.
I'd like to say that this is a transparent process, even though it is a bit of a surprise. I'll admit that I didn't know until today what the numbers were going to be, but that's okay. That's why we're out here having a discussion. So with respect to transparency, this is very transparent, and this is part of the process. So that's my comment.
Okay. Bob?
I wholeheartedly agree with Joe. This is part of the process. This is a process with integrity and transparency. This is how it's done. This is the sausage being made, and we're doing it in public. So, I've given up a little. I'm willing to go back to 115, and I can live with it.
Okay, well, right now, we'll put it up for a vote. Before we vote, I'd like confirmation on what the motion is.
Mr. Ware made the motion with Mr. Passanello seconding the motion to adopt resolution 2022-7A for the real estate tax rate at .115.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ware?
Aye.
Passanello?
Yes.
Pater?
Yes.
Schneider?
No.
Ramirez?
Sorry, did you get that? No.
No.
Morris?
No.
Leaves it up for me, huh?
Finally.
He gets a vote tonight.
How many times have you done this?
I love it.
Since we compromised, I would say yes.
Of course.
So that's resolution A. I'm ready to, I'll have to get the paperwork on.
Does that rate trickle through the other motions, just as a point of
Now
order?
they have to go through the other motions.
Guess while we're at it, I can reduce the attorney fees too.
Yeah, that'll be open for discussion when we get to see.
Yeah.
I think we should next, Mr. Mayor, would be my suggestion, and I will move resolution 2022-007A, B, to adopt the tax rates and fee schedule shown in the resolution in support of the budget, with the exception of the transient occupancy tax.
What?
All rates and fees except the TOT tax. I would have asked that be divided out and handled separately.
I don't know what's going on here. Is this our first meeting?
Well, I'll tell you
We need
what.
a second
I'll second it so we can open it up for discussion.
Okay, I got a motion and second to open it up for discussion.
All the other taxes, the meals tax, the cigarette tax, all of our fees, everything else in support of the budget, nothing changed. The only one we're not considering right now is TOT. It's every other fee and tax, as published.
To what end, or to what, I'm sorry.
Because we have to adopt them, unless you guys want to lower them or raise
Sorry,
them.
why are we taking out the TOT?
That's the motion I made, was to handle TOT separately.
And
I don't know, what other surprises there?
Yeah. Comments?
My only other comment was, by affecting the tax rate, does that, without your amendment notwithstanding, does that change the budget numbers or anything else do we need to adjust based on that rate?
We will have to adjust the budget based on that rate, yes.
Okay, but we don't have to indicate that in the motion? B?
No, that will come when we adopt the budget. We'll have to make that work when we get to budget. This is why you do it.
Resolution C.
This is why you do it in 3 different parts.
So that's Resolution C?
That's Resolution C, which we haven't gotten to yet, because you have to establish the
Understood.
rates to support it first.
Just make sure I'm on the same page.
So I have a question. So there are no real changes to any of the other taxes and fees?
No.
No,
That
no.
stays the
Everything
same?
as published.
Everything stays as is.
Stat.
Yep.
Stat.
Okay. All right. I'm prepared to vote.
If we leave this hanging, though, is there a resolution that comes later?
What, TOT?
Yeah.
That'll be Resolution C.
For the budget?
Now, there'll be a separate resolution for TOT.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's some
gonna-
changes
There's gonna
coming.
have to be.
There's
There
more
would have
changes.
I'm going to
be.
suggest a change, that's why I want it done separately.
That makes sense. I
That-
just
that-
wish
I
you
just-
hadn't-
that-
Yeah, that makes sense, Bob. It makes sense what you're doing. I just wish you didn't do it on the meeting we're adopting the
I
budget.
think I've been pretty clear to everybody that, and I've talked to most people about the TOT
I wasn't
tax.
here. I must have been absent from those meetings.
All right.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I
for
think we should vote.
discussion.
I think we should vote on it if discussion is finished.
Okay, give Mary a chance. Do you have any discussion points you want to address, Mary?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, ready?
Okay, put it up for vote.
Weir?
All right.
Passanello?
Yes.
Pater? Yes. Schneider?
No.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Okay, passes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move Resolution 2022-007C to adopt transient occupancy tax at a rate of 2%.
Got a motion? Any seconds?
Let's move on.
That stands on the table.
No, move on. It failed.
So that failed.
So now
Mr.
somebody
Mayor,
needs to adopt a motion for a different rate, for whatever rate they want.
the standard rate that is in the budget. What's the rate that's in the budget?
7%.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to adopt the rate of 7% for the TOT according to the proposed budget that we've presented to our residents.
Okay, got a motion? Any seconds?
I have a point of order question. So
Yes.
the other one, we didn't have to formally say it died because there wasn't a second.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
Died on the table.
That on the table.
I will second that.
It's okay.
Okay, got a motion and a second. It's up for discussion. I guess I'll give Bob first chance since he really threw a smoke bomb out there.
Well, I mean, it's quite simple to me. I was never in favor of a 7% tax in the first place. I thought it was irresponsible the way it was set up. The way that it is working out, in looking at the numbers over the past several months, I would suggest that we are spending more on legal fees than we are recovering in general tax fund revenues, and that the juice just ain't worth squeezing at 7%. I think it will also serve as an incentive by lowering our tax rate, our TOT tax lower than the counties. There would be some incentive to stay in the town rather than in the county. I think the difference between the 2 and the 7% presents some issues for us in terms of actually spending because of the way the ordinance is set up on the TOT tax, with 2% going to the general fund, 2% or 2 cents out of 7 going to the general fund, 2 cents out of 7 going to tourism and advertising, and then 3 cents out of the 7 being reimbursed for third-party expenditures. And at this rate, our legal bills are outstripping our general fund revenues from that revenue stream, and I don't think we have a mechanism in place to adequately spend the other 2% that doesn't go to the general fund but goes to the tourism and advertising function. And I am not going to support it at 07. I don't think the way it's set up in the long term is going to work unless there are some dramatic changes, and I foresee us continuing to spend an untold amount on legal bills on this, and that's where I stand on it. And that should come as no surprise to anybody in here. No surprise.
Not surprised. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be somebody out here with some comments.
Yeah, my suggestion is to have to have brought the 2%. I didn't vote on the 2% because, or I didn't support it or second it because I wasn't going to support something I don't know anything about. Again, springing something on the rest of the council of 2%. If I had been fully aware of it, I probably would have supported it. But at the meeting when we are voting to adopt the budget is not the place for it. My suggestion is to have brought it into the entire council. The council is the voting body, not 1 or 2 persons. The entire council is the voting body. And if it had been brought to the council, I probably would have supported 2% because I understand everything that Bob just said, but it's still not the right way to do it. It's not the right way to vote on it the day of when you're adopting the budget, to spring it surprisingly, to say, oh, let's go up for 2%.
I take offense at the surprising thing. I've been pretty forthright about this for the last couple of meetings, about what my intent
Joe
was.
is the one who brought up the word surprise.
And I'm pretty sure I've talked to almost everybody about this individually.
Ask Joe. He's the one who brought up the word surprise. So if you take offense, start over that corner.
It's okay.
Okay. You done, Chris?
I don't know, man. Just go to someone else for now.
He's got his hand up first.
Okay,
Joe?
I hear where you're coming from.
It's just me.
I have an affinity for that position, a strong affinity. However, I want to ask Roberto a question. So we're still working through some issues, and I get the fact that from the legal side, it's costing us a considerable amount of money at the moment. I'm of the opinion that we give it a little bit more time to try to work through. That's my opinion, the issue that we're dealing with that relates to the TOT. But if we make a decision that it's continuing to bleed money, which I am not happy about at all, we can always make an adjustment and an amendment in the budget after it's been adopted, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't necessarily have to go with a lower rate at the moment. We can play this out a little bit more because I think there's still a little bit more time and opportunity to play it out. Is that correct? Am I correct in that assumption? It's an opinion, I guess, not so much an assumption, but.
There are rates that we can change. I'm not sure that's one of the ones that you can do midstream.
How do we?
I believe that is a question you would be better answered by the town attorney. But I do know that you would need to.
What I'm trying to do is,
Split
almost like
baby.
arbitrage. Can we, in fact, it's done through a town ordinance. We can always change a town ordinance. We can amend a town ordinance if need be, correct? I'll ask anybody here.
Yeah. You can, yes.
Okay. So if it's adopted through a town ordinance, I would think if, as we're trying to go through the process that we're in, and we want to reduce it, say, in another month or 2 months, would that be acceptable?
I don't know.
I think we should find out.
I think that's why I do not want to speak out of turn, and I feel that that is a question better for the town attorney. But yes, you are correct, there are some rates that can be changed through the year, but that is a better answer by the town attorney, Martin Kremlin, when he is here.
Can somebody
Can we find out?
find out tonight, maybe email him or call him and get a ruling or an opinion on that so we can be a little bit better informed?
I thought he was going to be here tonight.
All right, that was my question.
Okay, around the dais,
I'm going to pause for now.
you
if
would
I may,
pause?
please.
Marchand?
I voted no on separating out because I anticipated this was going to be the option. You have the right to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do now. I think the implementation of that ordinance is too new. We need to exhaust our other options and discussions before we go the nuclear option, which I'd feel this would be. And so I would be much more comfortable revisiting this as we see how it's fairly new for us implementing this tax. I think we need more time to see how it plays out before we make a decision. Thanks.
Councilman Ramirez?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Councilman Passanello and Councilman Schneider. I would like to give this some time to see if we can work this out.
Councilman Morris?
Yeah, and I think also what would be proper to do is to communicate before we even entertain 2%, if we do it in the future, to also communicate to all the businesses that it may affect. It's a proper way to do it. It's communicating to them to say, why is it being changed? Why are we proposing from 7 to 2 and how they would benefit or how it would benefit the town? It is just the right way to do it, not at a budget adoption meeting. So there's, as Marchand said, it's not because we can do it, that means we should do it. We just follow the proper procedure. And I'm telling you, if this was pitched the right way, without a surprise, I probably would have supported it, big time, because I can totally understand where Bob is coming from.
And I guess my comments, I hear you, Bob. I can understand where you're coming from, but I think it's a little bit too hasty at this point.
I made my pitch. I'm good.
So, where do we stand? We
I think
okay,
we're
we're
waiting
waiting.
for an answer from the attorney.
We'll do a quick recess then.
I don't think we need to do anything. We don't
You want to
need
just
vote.
hang on then? Keep it.
We need to vote.
She's got the serious one.
He stated that since it was done by an ordinance, you can change it by an ordinance. His recommendation is that you would give notice if you were gonna plan to do it, and you wouldn't do it on the spur of the moment.
You would have to anyway with an ordinance because you'd have to publish it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that takes care of Chris's issue.
Okay.
So what's the motion?
The motion
The
is,
motion is-
7%.
the motion is to keep the TOT tax rate at 7%.
The motion is what we propose to our residents.
Right.
By Mr. Morris, Mr. Schneider seconded the motion.
Okay.
Mr. Ware?
Ready?
Roll call vote, please.
Weir?
Nope.
Passanello?
Yes.
Pater?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Okay.
Which brings us to Resolution 2002.
That legal-
Mr. Mayor, before we adopt the budget, I would make some suggestions for some budget amendments, particularly given the decrease to .115 in the rate. If Roberta could put it up on the board.
This is to clarify your earlier,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually to make some adjustments on both the revenue side and some slight adjustments on the
Do we need a break for that, or we keep
Can
going?
we take a 5-minute recess so we can load it up on the screen?
Great.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Make it bigger.
Yes, we're gonna put it on there, make it bigger, and we'll let.
Okay.
Test, test.
All right,
Okay, let's,
Okay,
Continue
so,
on.
council, so you're aware, I have updated our expected revenue when it comes to real estate and to our public service using the .115 rate that has been voted in and adopted for FY 2023.
400143 now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I would suggest the following adjustments to the budget. Line item 312002, B-Pole, increase it from 220 to 240, which nets 20,000 additional in revenue. Do you want to do this now or later, Roberta?
We can do it now.
Because I've got the numbers totaled.
We can do it now.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, do it, no, we want to hear about it.
No,
do
that's
it-
what
do
he
it
said.
now, that way it's visible on screen, all the council members get to see it.
So that goes to $240,000 on B-Pole.
240.
Cigarette tax, line item 3120/003, raised from 125 to 130, which nets an additional 5,000. Meals tax, 3120/05, raise it from 975 to an even 1 million, which nets another 25. Interest on the bank deposits, increase from 3,000 to 6,000, which generates another $3,000 in revenue. On the next one, Emily, please chime in on this if I'm off. 3165-02, the farmer's market. We have it at 0. I would suggest setting the revenue stream at 1,500, which nets another 1,500.
45K.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
I did have a question for you.
Fines.
Lowly grant,
Oh, yes, sir.
is that set at 3094? Does the second tranche factor in now that we have to increase that?
No, the second one is 1520.
So 3094 takes care of both of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
That's the total.
So those budget amendments on the revenue side increase the budget by 54,500.
Pause one quick second. Mary said she can't access the website.
I'm helping her.
Okay.
Real quick, while
Thank
we're
you.
in that quick break, can you go to the interest and repeat what that one was
Yeah.
after meals tax?
3K.
3K increase from 3,000 to 6,000. Lowly's fine, where it's at. I just was unsure as to whether the second tranche was included, because this was done, when this was done. The other thing I want to, before I get into the revenue, or the expenditure side, the other thing I want to make clear is that these adjustments are as a result of the last 3 months of actuals and what our actual performance for the year is, which is a significantly more information than we had when the original budget draft was created. So, to continue, at the bottom of the revenue stream, that puts us up 54,500 minus 8,456, which is roughly 45,000 and some change once you factor in the tax.
Oh, okay. The
Yeah,
reduction.
You're wondering
54,500 minus
Reduction.
8,000, deduct, minus 8,456, so it's roughly a net increase of $46,000 and $46,004, or $14.
And this is based on the .115.
This is based on the .115.
All right.
On the expenditure side, based on last year and past, I would suggest we drop town council convention and education from 2,500 to 2,000,
No.
netting us 500.
No,
Well, let him finish.
Okay.
And
Let me
then,
go through.
let him
I mean, I'm more than,
Go through
I'm
them.
not going to die on that hill. I would,
What was that number?
I'm taking,
2,500 to 2,000.
I'm taking a posse to the VML this year.
in that case, I withdraw that amendment.
But,
No, that's fine. That's what I want to hear. I want to,
yeah, but we haven't looked at each of these items. We want to wait, Mr. Mayor, before, and then let
okay,
him just
okay,
go
we
through
can
all of
wait,
them?
we can
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, let him just go through all of them. then we can
Salaries
pick it
and
apart.
wages for the town council, just based on where we're projecting, I would drop it from 26 to 25.
26,000 to 25,000,
Yes,
so down a K.
down a K.
And does it I'm sorry, well, wait till we're done.
Consultants and engineers for the planning commission. This is supposed to be a pass-through. And I don't, and based on where the pass-through is and what the actuals are after the pass-through, I'm going to suggest dropping it from 15 to 10, given that our actual to date is 5,000.
The 15,000?
Yeah, from 15,000 to 10,000, netting 5.
Plus,
And what was that line item?
Uh,
Not the number, just the.
8110003. From 15,000 to 10,000.
so it's negative 5K, drop it 5K.
Which generates another $6,500 in net revenue added to the 40, what was it, 46?
46 and change.
So, yeah, what's the total?
So right now, we have a net revenue positive of 51,147.
Which I would suggest putting in its entirety into line item 94108, which is the capital improvement fund, increasing it to roughly $210,000, give or take, something in that ballpark.
206,771.
206.
These changes are, the town's budget would go up to 3,602,240
006.
And still balance.
balance, yes.
3 million what?
3,000,000.
No, the total.
Go ahead, Roberto.
3,006,240.
240.
It's up there.
Okay. So how much was that to the capital, 51?
Whatever the number Roberto had, because it changed from,
1,147.
Oh, okay, great.
and those are my suggested budget amendments, or budget adjustments,
Can we discuss each item now?
If you want to.
if you want to.
Want to?
Can we
You
go
done,
down,
Bob?
we hit the B-poll first and just pool each person to see if they had any objections with B-poll, the increase in B-poll?
Oh, she's having a hard time? Okay.
What's our projected for this year for B-poll?
220. Our actual so far for what's been collected is roughly 270,000.
Actually, it's 270?
Yeah, and we're projecting 240.
Okay.
It's actually going to be 270 plus, because we haven't collected all of it yet.
We have roughly 30 businesses that haven't filed yet.
Okay.
So I think it's pretty safe to assume at a conservative valuation, once everything is received, you're probably looking at bare minimum of 275.
Here?
And I'm proposing raising it from 220 to 240.
I understand. I have no objections with that. Mr. Mayor, do you want to pool, just if there's any objections or concerns from the rest of council? And
Any
then I
objections? Voice
can
them.
move to the next one.
Mary?
Mary? Mary?
I'm here.
The-
Sorry, I had trouble seeing the numbers. So following through sound only is very difficult.
So
But
Mary, one of the proposal is concerning B-poll of increasing from 220,000 to 240,000, and right now our actual is at 270,000. Do you have any issues with the proposal to increase it to 240?
From 220 to 240?
Yeah.
Is that what
That's
I'm
the question.
hearing?
Yes, that's the
Correct.
question.
Okay. And our current actual is 270. No, I don't see a problem with that. 270 is our actual, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, then yes, I do
With-
not have a
With a
problem.
month to go, right?
Yeah.
Cigarette, can I?
Wait a minute.
Okay,
Hold
sorry.
on.
All right, just to clarify, Roberto, Emily just said that is, we're still outstanding on 30 businesses roughly. Do we know the estimated gross receipts? We have no idea.
We have no idea.
The approximate number of our list is we're missing 50. I rounded down. Some of those are out-of-town contractors who are not going to necessarily be returning. So of those, I estimated about 30 of them are going to be our brick vendors that are here in town. Some of them are smaller businesses, but some are also restaurants and retail.
Which is why I've used a conservative number of 240 in
Yeah.
lieu of anything higher than that.
Yeah, that's
That
good.
gives us at least a $35,000 cushion.
No, that's really good. 240 is
Oh.
pretty conservative.
And so for people to understand that that's a tax that's based on the gross receipts of an organization or a business,
Correct.
just so everybody gets it. Okay. All right, I'm good with,
Next one is a cigarette tax, our
125.
125 to 130. We're currently at 126 with how many months out, Roberto? 2 months? Cigarette tax wise?
Excuse me.
Or did we just get those in today? How current are the current, is the, till May? So June, I'm comfortable at 130.
Taking into account the fact that we had the issue with the different counties pooling together and putting money into it,
That's why we're getting more
We should see
revenue.
an increase a little bit.
but
because
it
of
may
that.
not happen this year. So I'm
Now,
tempted-
Prince William is joining with their new cigarette tax, so it'll actually go up even higher next year.
but I'm wondering if conservatively, we should keep it at the 125. Roberto?
Not a hill I'm gonna die on.
No, but you understand what I'm saying, though? I'm just saying. I mean, I'm fine with increasing it, but
I mean, we're already over the 125 right now.
but
with-
we're over the 125 because we got help from the counties pooling all that money together.
Well, it's
not done-
changed the way they distribute the money. It's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Roberto, it's a function of the way in which
Pot
the
of money.
collected funds are distributed on an allocation basis, correct?
Yeah, it's a percentage base, but also our expenses are spread out a little bit more. It's not much, but our expenses now absorbed by a bigger pool of members.
And the pool grows larger next year
Yes.
because they've adopted cigarette tax in the county.
In fact, in the board meeting on June 8th, the town of Remington has requested if we would take them on board to be members, even though they're under FACUR, but I think Remington will be joining us as well. So we'll have an additional member into the thing.
I understand that, but with Prince William County now having cigarette tax, is that what you're saying?
That will increase the pool and decrease the percentage of administrative costs that we have to pay.
But it also decreased the amount of people buying in the town?
No, actually, we'll probably increase it.
Yeah,
Because right now, people are not buying in the town because they don't pay a tax in the county. Now they're going to pay a tax in the county.
Are we nitpicking here?
it's all about elasticity of demand.
I mean,
I'm just trying to be realistic, given what the actuals are to date and how the dynamic is changing in the next year with the addition of other municipalities and things that are going to change the market.
I understand, but compared to Beeple, there's not much wiggle room. And we might not hit this target that we're setting for ourselves of 130.
Based on past collections, I think we will. Based on prior years,
so if I may speak, based on what the board was talking about, maybe seeing an average of 5% decrease every year, that's what they're seeing, the average decrease every year. If we were to bump it up to 130, that means that we're currently right now at 126 and taking average monthly revenue source minus the 5% for next year. It would be about 129. It'd be about 130. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. That
That's what I'm saying. That's good, but it seemed like it's tight.
it is tight, but I believe that majority of the funds that we're creating here are going into the CIP fund expenditures. So it won't necessarily affect on the expenditure side of the department. And it would just mean there'll be less money towards CIP items.
So operations is still safe.
Correct. Operational expenditures are still untouched.
Not a hill I'm gonna die on.
Okay.
Right now, it looks like it's ready for prime time.
I mean, that's not a hill that I'm going to die on, another $5,000. I'm just trying to right-size the budget.
I mean,
So-
that's also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, any objections, but you got a comment.
No, I don't have an objection. The comment is that this is something that you monitor, you track over the course of the year, and if need be, you make your adjustments and amendments.
That was my whole point on the attorney fees, and you guys shot it down.
I haven't touched the
No,
attorney fees.
not yet.
You'll get your opportunity to do that in a second.
Let's try to speed it up here. Any objections, voice your opinion now, and we'll move on to the next line item.
Next,
Next,
Mary?
Have to go
I'm
line
sorry,
item by
Mary.
line item, or can we just?
Well, this is just these line items.
Just these.
just these right here that we're adjusting.
Okay.
I have the same concern with meals tax. Is that too aggressive, putting it at $1 million?
I don't think so, and the reason I would suggest that is we've only got 2 months of meals tax from the restaurant across the street. We've got a brewery that just opened. We have an expansion on the works on another second brewery is getting ready to open. Again, I think at the end of the day, this is actually a conservative number.
And this doesn't include any of the future
This
potential.
does not include Popeyes or Taco Bell or any of those that are not yet built.
Good.
And just to add to that, Councilman Morris, from what I'm receiving today, if the trend keeps going towards the projection they're going, we will probably hit $1 million this year.
This year.
We're pretty close to it.
Okay. No, I'm good with it.
Now, is
I'm
there
good with the
also
explanation.
an effort by the county? What did the county adopt?
The county
4%?
adopted 4%.
Yeah, so the county did also adopt July 1st, as we stated earlier, adopted a 4% tax rate, so we may see some of those residents that were going to
Outside of town.
outside in Gainesville for the Chick-fil-A to save that 4%, now pretty much
That's a
it's
wash.
the same, yeah, it's a wash.
Believe
And
it-
also the increase in the price of the meals.
Yeah.
I went a place on last week Friday and paid $24 for a Jamaican meal, and I tell you, man, that's steep.
What's
But it's
interesting
just
is
gonna
that
increase. It's just
what's
gonna keep
interesting is the sheer number of people who will actually drive outside of Haymarket to avoid that extra 4% tax that they now can't avoid.
That's right.
All right, if there's anything else, I would love to move on to the interest, just to get clarification.
If you look at line item 3150/03, interest on bank deposits, that's the interest on our sweeper fund and everything else, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at it historically, I mean, we're at 7,000 right now with a month to go. And I don't see us wiping out anything in that account. In fact, I see additional revenue being derived from that because of the ARPA money that we moved there.
Yep.
So I think 6,000 is actually pretty conservative at the end of the day.
And we stopped the bleeding.
Yeah,
But the ARPA money that is there is gonna get depleted, and that interest is gonna be depleted, gonna be reduced.
It's not going to be depleted in the near future.
That makes sense, though, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, next year it'll be different, yes.
The
Okay.
next fiscal year.
We'll have to reassess it next year based on what our holdings are and how much of the ARPA money we've got left. How much of the ARPA money we expend on capital projects, but I don't see us expending a significant portion of it in probably the first half of the year.
And I'm trying to think with the RFP, which we haven't talked about, that's going to take some time to do the design. Then we're going to have to go out for bid.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to find a contractor. I don't know what a schedule would be on that.
next
I
year.
mean, do we really anticipate spending some of that money on the sidewalk? I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible that next year budget season may catch us with the same amount.
Correct.
There.
Slightly less.
And then we have to adjust it because of money's being taken out.
And we stopped the bleeding with VML Baco.
Right.
I didn't even touch that line
Well, I'm
item.
just saying, the fact that that's not gonna-
Councilman Ware, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. You want 6,000 overall or just a specific line?
Just that.
3150 stroke 003.
You want it to equal 6,000 as well?
6,000 instead of 3,000, correct.
Okay.
You okay with that, Roberto?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Next line item is 316502, the farmer's market. We've got a 0 in the revenue stream, but we're actually accruing charges for it.
This is for the fees to.
This is the
put booth?
fees. Is 1,500 an accurate number for a year, July to July?
It's very
Conservative.
We've also had some sponsorships for the farmers market.
But that comes in a different line, correct? Sponsorships fall under a different revenue stream, right?
Right.
Yes, however, if we wanted to track it most accurately, if they're only sponsoring the farmers market, we can weed through that later.
I can live with that because the number's really conservative.
It is very conservative.
What is that, 15 across the 12 months? Because
15
farmers
July 1
market.
to July 1 to June 30th, yes.
I mean, we don't anticipate being open in the winter, do we?
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Not this
Not this year.
winter, but ideally, we could look ahead to next winter and the next fiscal year.
Which would just increase the revenue stream.
So that
We'll
might,
have that discussion.
there may be some accommodations necessary for that, though. That might
I just
be
don't like leaving a
expense.
0 where we've got a known revenue
Yeah,
line.
no,
We're-
Yeah, no, that's smart. That is smart.
Yes, Marshall?
$1,500, but I mean, we're hoping that it's as successful.
Well, we're at 1,700 right now.
Okay, but, okay. Just,
And it's only been going for how long? 3 months?
3 months.
I mean, that's a one-time fee, though.
That's correct.
Okay. So if we're confident it'll keep going, then that's fine. But I don't know that 1,500 is going to have a ripple effect.
But I think it's just a start now, right, Bob? So next year it
It's-
gets
it-
reevaluated and readjusted.
For lack of a better term, it's a conservative placeholder. I just don't like putting a 0 there where we've got a known revenue stream.
Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, can we move to TC convention?
Yes.
Don't say fine. I am not touching the fine argument. You know where I stand on that one.
What's fine?
I have a position on PD fines. I think it presumes a quota, but apparently I've been
All right. And
stomped on that one.
Now we're moving on to expenditures,
The
right?
expenditure side,
Yeah.
anybody else have any revenue they want to change?
yep, now, speak now. If you got any other revenue line items you want to change.
Can we get a thumbs
Well-
up from Mary, please? That she's good?
Mary?
Can you hear us?
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
That's it.
My only comment on that is for the future, we need to revisit our fee schedule across the board, so.
I
development
don't
fee schedule.
disagree.
Okay. TCA, go ahead, Ken.
TC, yeah. No, he's a mayor.
What
He
do
can't-
we-
he's
what
not
do we
supposed
have
to-
right
He's
now?
supposed to go last.
We have
2,500.
He's the
2,500.
mayor. He's supposed to go last.
I do.
So TC convention, I'll take this on, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I have no comments.
I'm not going to be part of your posse, so cut my expense out.
Yeah, what are we looking at? What is the budget for that?
2,500.
2,500? I mean, we will probably even come close to that, because if we go down there for 3 days, it's in Richmond this year, I'm probably going to have
When is it?
October.
October like 2nd through 4th, and we're hopeful to have 3 of us attend. Roberto said it might be about $750 each. We might need to bump it up actually.
And the bar bill.
Are you going to get an elevator that works this time?
Is this like a cool kids club thing? I mean, who gets to
Yeah.
do this thing?
Yeah. It's just for the mayor to show off his people.
This is not a hill I'm going to die on for $500. I'll withdraw that
So
suggestion. If
I would,
Council,
I would leave it.
I'll leave it.
Add to it.
Leave it at 2,500?
So just so you guys are aware, in prior years, prior councils, when they did participate, they spent anywhere from 3,900 to 3,400.
Yeah, I know where that money went.
3,300.
Yeah, leave it.
Leave it at 25?
I would.
I would leave it, and if we need to
Yeah, if
pull
we
it
burn it,
somewhere
we'll,
else.
we'll
Okay.
figure it out.
I have no,
I just didn't want to get rid of it.
no, I wasn't gonna get rid of it, I just, salaries and wages for us, just based on past tendencies and where we're going this year, I want to right-size our expectation for us, so I just dropped it $1,000 from 26 to 25.
Does that cover 3 meetings a month, which is our maximum? The 25?
This is it's 2 meetings a
2
month.
meetings a month.
Well, our policy was adopted for a maximum, what?
Maximum of 3.
What would that number look like for that? Not to say that we're going to do it.
I'd have to do, let's see, what are we, 100 apiece, 600 plus,
I'd hate to,
you're 150, right?
I think I'm 150.
So that's 750 times 2 is 4.
Should just leave it. Leave it at 26.
You're gonna make me do this,
Why are we higher than normal this year?
or not?
Okay, then why are we dropping it?
We're actually lower. 750 times 2
We're at 19.
times 12, 18,000 is 2 meetings.
okay.
So 2.5 would be
27.
26. But we never have 2.5, we don't average 2.5 meetings. And that assumes that everybody shows up.
Well, this month we had the special meetings, right?
We've
Yeah, but
definitely
when you
maxed the 3
amortize
this
it
time.
across
Well,
the
I
year,
got you. I'm just
we don't average.
trying to figure out why we think we're getting less than the budget. so.
Sorry, I was talking to my wife on a ring. She stepped outside.
Your mic's on.
And I'm also looking at the past actuals over the last 5 years, which is your normal look back.
Practice, yeah.
It's only I mean, this is what I do every year. You guys should know this by now. Consultants, engineers for the planning commission, line item 8110003. As I noted earlier, a lot of that money is actually supposed to be a pass-through that the applicant and if you look at prior years, until we took over the budget, that's what was happening, was it was getting credited against the planning commission, even though it was an expenditure that was paid for by the applicant on the land use applications. So then when you get to this year and you see the actuals after the pass-through and the cost is attributed, it's only 5,000 in expenditures. I don't see it going anywhere next year. So I would just suggest dropping it from 15 to 10. And that was the last one.
Operations wise, Emily, is that good?
I believe so.
Most of the town's built out, so I don't know how much more other than
A lot of
some
our
redevelopment things.
Bigger plans and bigger things kind of occurred this past year, so it should slow down some.
However, if we're gonna be focusing on doing projects for the town, it's not gonna be a pass-through.
That's right.
That would get attributed to a different line item.
Yes.
Your engineering costs and your construction costs, depending on how you were allocating it, would be attributed to either the CIP or to the maintenance fund.
And then, for example, like right now, we're working through the town center master plan, so that's a separate line item for that engineering costs and what we're getting done.
Okay.
Sidewalk.
And the sidewalk is separate.
Sidewalk is separate because that's a specific line item developed for ARPA?
Yeah.
Yeah,
On next year's budget, yes.
on next year's budget. And that's all I've got. Now, does anybody else have any suggestions?
What's the attorney fees at?
What line item is it? We actually talked about this.
I'm going out with a bang.
I'll comment on it if you want.
Yeah, but
Hopefully we'll be under actuals next year.
I'm gonna get on my soapbox on this one. I wasn't gonna bring it up, and you want to talk about legal fees, I'll be more than happy to talk to legal fees.
Really want to, Chris? Or we-
what's it?
70?
Right here.
It's
We're
90.
increasing it?
72.
Yeah.
What's our actuals right now?
66,326.
And when was the
No,
last?
70,
70?
7250.
Oh, you just got a new one in?
To what
With
month?
one more month to go?
one more month to go.
However,
We keep,
our contract has changed. We're gonna be limiting his, involvement with the meetings, closed sessions only upon requests. I'm proposing to keep it at 70. Do I hear a second?
Cue Bob and his soapbox.
Real quick first, one item just to put on your radars in the discussion is if one of our current matters does not go and get settled in the upcoming months, we will have a potential 3-day trial in this upcoming fiscal year. And that will be a hefty bill.
This is next year I'm talking about.
That's next year.
That's this
That's
year.
slated for March,
March next year. Okay.
correct, in this coming fiscal year that we're
So,
talking about.
yeah,
we
for the
just
current one.
Get rid of him from all our meetings, save the money, and
well, what kind of impact is the new contract with the meetings? I mean, he had a default fee for the meetings, now we're going hourly with the meetings.
His hourly rate is 210, I believe, 210 an hour.
Doesn't he have
If
an
you,
increase
if you
July 1st?
look at it based on how many hours we keep him here, even and understanding that we're going to restrict the hours, because it's no longer it's no longer prescribed by a flat fee meeting rate, but by his hourly rate, I think by default, the meeting charge is going to be higher
Yeah, so that's the risk
higher
that
than
I'm
what
worried
we're getting,
about.
even if we limit the hours,
He's got a minimum.
because we're charging by the hour now instead of the flat fee, I think the cost is actually going to be higher per meeting. But that's not where my greatest concern is. And here's where I'm going to get up in my soapbox. The reason that bill is as high as it is this year and as high as it was last year was cleaning up messes. Illegal contracts, stupidity, grant issues, overtime issues. And it seems like every time we turned around in the last 6 months, it's discover another landmine that was left for us. And in landmines that only the town attorney could deal with. And, I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about with leases and everything else. And it was, because of the nature of the correction and the nature of the problem that had to be corrected, we had no option, even though we didn't like it, but to pay for the legal counsel to address those issues. I don't see that dynamic changing for at least a year, because there are a lot of outstanding things that are still going on. In conjunction with now paying the hourly rate per the revised contract, I don't like going up to 90,000, but I think it's realistic given where I think the bills are going to fall.
Thank you. I understand. However, in the last 2 years, we have dealt with stupidity, contracts, grants, overtime, landmines, and leases. And if we are to be fair in assessing it, I don't think over the next 2 years or the next year, we're going to be dealing with that amount of stupidity, contracts, grant, overtime, landmines, and leases.
There are still several open issues.
Several, but what we have gone through in the last year were massive, and we know, because we are behind the scenes and we're involved, that none of these exist to the extent that it existed a year ago or 2 years ago.
Can I ask Roberto a question? Do we pay Martin the time he's in transit for meetings, or just for actual meeting? What is that, what is that, under the terms of the new contract, are we paying ride time?
We would have to pay.
Yeah.
I believe we are.
I believe we would have.
What is the flat fee currently per meeting? It's 800, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think it's 800. I can verify with
That's
with
about
you.
4 hours.
Well, it's 4 hours, but the question is, are we paying transit time?
No,
If
because
we're
next
not
thing
paying-
you're gonna live in Richmond. What if he lives in Richmond and driving to the meeting?
It's not unheard of, especially when it comes to attorneys. I tell you what, I'm willing to go to 80, right off the bat, because I think we can ride it down that much. I'm just not, given where we're at this year, I'm not comfortable at 70.
I see your 80 and raise my 70.
First of all, we're getting less than $300. We're getting a good deal. I mean, most land use attorneys and municipal attorneys, $400, $500, $600 an hour.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting it cheaper than probably most jurisdictions would pay.
Yeah.
So I agree that we've had to reconcile some carryover stuff from the previous groups, but I don't think this is something we need to touch right now. So leave it as
I
is.
mean, again, it's not a hill I'm going to die on. I'm willing to go to 80. I'm not willing to go down to 70.
I think budget high, in this case, I think we need to keep it at where it's at, and then thankfully, hopefully it'll be less.
Want my opinion?
Sure.
I think we leave it at 90 for the time being. I think there are a lot of unknowns, and there's still some stuff we have to flesh out.
Mary can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I think we leave it at 90 because I think we still have some remaining issues that we need to flesh out. I mean, I understand trying to limit that number because of it's kind of a messaging system in a way. I get that. But we also have to be realistic that there are some outstanding issues that could resolve rather quickly, and then we can make an amendment or adjustment to that down the road. But I think at this point, I think we have to be realistic about the fact that there may be some additional landmines we're not even aware of. Who knows?
If we leave it there, where do we stand? If we leave it at 90, where do we stand on the revised CIP number? Because it was 155,624. What is it now with those adjustments?
Well, the only thing we really struck was the ed thing, right?
Yeah, just that 500. But I didn't write the number down.
So we're probably around 51, 50.5. If that's right.
So it'd be 51,147, and so now the CIP overall is 206,771.
If nobody has any other adjustments, I would move resolution 2022/007 to adopt.
Apologize.
That's a little bit lower.
Did you have a comment you wanted to throw in there first?
I was just going to make point that we're looking at the attorney number, the 70 is what we're projected, that, right, moving forward. Where were we this past year?
Yeah.
76?
76.
Right now, we're
Right now, and then we have
72, right?
1 month left.
Right now, we're at 70,250 with 1 month left.
With 1 month left. So we're already going to just trend higher than the 70 that's.
we're already above what we budgeted.
Right.
Correct.
So if we were going to approach this like we've approached everything else as far as being conservative, we would want to take that number into consideration for the final number. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Where we are trending right now.
Mary?
I agree with you. I think the part that I'm struggling with is the differentiation, or what is the difference going to be at the end of the day across a 12-month period by switching from a flat rate meeting fee to an hourly rate meeting fee where we don't know if we're paying drive time.
But we could always adjust it later on.
Yeah,
6 months from now, we can always adjust it. If we just kept the 70 and adjust it 6 months from now, that gives us better information. We do our proper research, and it's not like it's beyond us. We're not held tight to the 70.
No, but we want to minimize any adjustments, right? That's the whole point of
That's-
putting the effort into this budget.
Which is why I mentioned the stupidity and the contracts grant over time, landmines and leases. With that, Mr. Weir brought up.
I mean,
But then again, still, it's coming from this frugal setting where if you keep it at 70, you push yourself to stick close to 70. You put it at 90, it's freedom. You know, so
no, believe me, we scream at the attorney bill every month,
then we need to, then we can, just, it's up.
and we scrutinize it, believe me.
What happens to the prosecutions? That's going to go up? That's still going to be a
That's a
fixed?
different line, that's a different line item.
I get that, but I'm still curious about
It's
it.
a flat fee, but it did go up percentage-wise.
Right, and so his fee is also going to go up in July, right? Wasn't it, the way the contract read, it was 3% a year or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
legal,
have it in
the
front of me.
PD legal services line item is going from 26 to 27.3, and on a flat rate basis, we're currently at 18.9, which doesn't really make sense. How far behind are they on that?
I'll look into that entry.
Maybe it, 19,000. I can't remember what month we're through on the legal. I always get that confused. We got last month's bill, right?
Yes, but we usually, for PD's legal, we leave a cushion because there's times where evidence or additional things they need to do will get charged. That's not part of the flat fee.
Okay. Depositions and investigate, okay. Chief, you want to speak to that at all, or? Smarter man than I.
Currently, right now, we're at 23,551.80 for PD.
Okay,
legal.
so,
PD's good.
so last month's bill's not included in the sheet that you sent me. Okay, because I got 18.9. Okay, that 23, then that does make sense.
Mr. Mayor, could we get Mary's input before we?
Yep. Mary, you got anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Are we still talking about the legal fees?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. Just confirming that I'm hearing everything. I think what we had for 70 would be fine. I don't foresee the number of instances in which we will require legal aid the way that we have, especially since I've been on board. And if 70 has covered that so far and we only have a month left, I think that says a lot about us being really conservative and responsible with the amount of time and use that we put in with the attorney.
Mr. Mayor, can we just take a pulse of
Yeah.
70, and then we can go to what is proposed in the budget?
Yeah, quick roundtable. Who's fine with 70? Mary said yes.
So this would take out, sorry, go around.
This would drop it from 90 to 70, is the question.
Oh, so we already have it projected at 90?
It's in the budget at 90.
Budget at 90.
So the question is, do we drop it back to 70?
Keep going, Mr. Mayor.
Rashawn?
I'm going to leave it at 90.
Vice Mayor.
I'd go more towards the 90.
Joe?
What are we at right now again? What is it?
76.
0.2.
7,200.
72.5.
Divided by 11 times 12.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. So we're talking, we're going to be closer to 80
Yeah,
by the end of this year,
we'll be over 80, I think.
somewhere in the vicinity.
But bear in mind the stupidity contract.
Yeah, I get that. But stupidity is one of the constants in life, I think.
Stupidity is a constant haymarket.
I'm more comfortable leaving it higher. I get the argument of trying to keep it lower, just to kind of ensure that people know there's a limit. I get that. I could live with 80, but not 70.
I'm with Joe. I could live with 80, but I don't know that, I'm not comfortable going to 70, but I could live with 80.
Okay, I got pretty much 80, 80, 80 here.
Mr. Mayor, is 80 a win for me?
80's a win.
It's a win for the town.
It's a compromise.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm good with that. Anything to lessen it. I'm good with 80, Mr. Mayor.
And you're good with that, Mary?
Yep, fine with that.
Tracy, 80?
Yeah, she's the one who brought it up. Tracy's the one who suggested
Okay.
it.
Again, I would say as someone who, my overarching concern is that we not strap the staff so much that they feel like they have to be overly hawkish. And my interactions with contract attorneys before, if we need to talk to them, we need to talk to them.
Right.
And so by this amount, did you, as a staff, feel like you're overly restrictive in terms of your access to the town attorney? Okay.
No.
So, okay, 80's fine.
That's a good question.
And I think, Bob, yours is the motion C, the resolution C? D?
D, we're down to D,
Yeah, C was the 7%.
which drives our CIP to another 10,000, right?
Correct. So this total CIP now is adjusted to 218,271, making the overall operational budget 3,740,000.
Right.
Any more adjustments before I try and make a motion? Mr. Mayor, I would move resolution 2022-007D to adopt the annual operating budget and capital improvement budget as amended June 21, 2022, and appropriate the funds on an annual basis for the contemplated expenditures shown in the amended annual operating budget and capital improvement budget.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Roll call, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll
Well,
discuss
last minute
that.
discussion, anybody last chance? Okay.
Ware,
Aye.
Casanello,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Snyder, Ramirez,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Okay, I think that does it for that agenda item.
All right, which takes us to,
Closed session.
Martin is not here, correct?
Correct.
So, with respect to the issue that you wanted to talk about, as Martin is not here, there's not an exemption provided for that.
Because Martin's not here.
Because Martin, we had this issue two meetings ago.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, I struggled with that 2 meetings ago. Mr. Mayor, I move the council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, a personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the town manager. And as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, briefing by staff members pertaining to probable litigation involving 14600 Washington Street.
I'll second.
Got a motion, got a second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Get in the meeting.
go.
Well said?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion second.
Weir,
Aye.
Casnella.
Yes.
Haver,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Morse.
Yes.
And there's got to be me too, right?
Mr.
Oh, yeah, Mr.
Oh, yeah, you too.
Two, yes.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
Mr. Mayor, as a result of tonight's meeting, I want to reiterate what I've said on numerous occasions over the past 20 years, and that's that we need to start the budget process earlier and get this done. So what I would propose for next year, so that we don't get into this, and I warned, I thought we were cutting it too close this year, and I think I said that early on in the budget process. I would suggest a calendar that goes something like this. Initial budget presentation.
Are you voted in? They
Can we
haven't
have a
voted
closed
on you.
session?
They haven't voted on you as yet. And put that in place. The new council has to do that.
I'm
January
just
1st.
suggesting.
It doesn't matter what your suggestion is. The new council has to do
He's
it.
got to start the budget in November.
Don't matter.
An initial budget proposal followed by a work session at a next meeting where we set the proposed rate. The next meeting, there's the publication. The next meeting, there's the markup. And then after the markup, there's an adoption. It forces us to get this done much earlier in the budget cycle so that we're not doing it in June again, which has been a pet peeve of mine for years. Just my 2 cents. And on that, move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
And oh, by the way.